Welcome back to Cheddar's Opening Bell. CarLotz, the industry's only consignment-to-retail sales business model for used cars, is going public through a special purpose acquisition company, or SPAC, and will be listed on the NASDAQ under the ticker symbol LOTZ. This deal makes CarLotz the third major U.S. online car seller to go public this year. With us now to discuss is CarLotz CEO Michael Bor. Michael, great to have you on. Why did you choose to list CarLotz as a SPAC and not do a traditional IPO?
Thanks for having me, by the way. Pleasure to be here. We decided to go the SPAC route because it is a more efficient way and more transparent way to go public. We felt like the additional capital that we can get through a SPAC IPO versus a regular way IPO enables us to execute our growth plan in a much better way. And also, it allows us to partner with a really experienced group of investment professionals through the SPAC we chose at Acamar Partners. The folks at Acamar Partners have decades of experience investing in consumer and retail businesses and growing big brands around the world. So super thrilled to be partnering up with the Acamar team and excited about the capital that this brings into the business for us to execute on our growth plan.
I just want to talk a bit about CarLotz. What exactly is it? How does the process work when it comes to selling and buying used cars?
Yeah, it's a question we get a lot. We are the industry's only consignment-to-retail sales business model. So from a buyer's perspective, it's going to look very similar to some of our e-commerce peers. From a seller's perspective, it's very different. We source our vehicles from consumers and from businesses, and we take them straight to the retail buyer. So before we existed, a consumer seller would trade their car in at a dealership, or they might park it on the side of the road with a sign and deal with Craigslist and deal with strangers. And so through our consignment platform, sellers can now use CarLotz to professionally merchandise and market their vehicles to a broad range of buyers. And by doing that, they get thousands more for their vehicle than they would if they were to try it on their own or trade it in. For our corporate sellers, before we existed, our corporate sellers, which are banks, fleet management companies, leasing companies, Fortune 500 businesses, et cetera, before we existed, they would take all their vehicles to the auction and settle for wholesale proceeds. And through our model, they're able to take those vehicles straight to retail, shrink the supply chain, and get a lot more value for their vehicles, oftentimes thousands of dollars. And we do all the work. We bring the cars into our hubs, we recondition the vehicles, we make them perfect. We find the buyers through listing the vehicles online, everywhere where people go to shop for cars. And we take trade-ins, we offer warranties and financing. Any way that a buyer wants to buy a vehicle, we make it very easy for them so that they're willing to buy these vehicles from our consigners. It's a business we've been running now for 8 or 9 years. We have 8 hub locations in 5 states. And through this transaction, we're going to grow nationwide through the opening of several new hubs.
That's what I was going to ask you. With this additional funding from going public, what is your growth plan?
Yeah, so the key part of our plan is that we need to be close to the vehicles that we're selling. A really big part of the expense for a seller of selling their vehicle is getting it to our hub to sell. So if we can expand more hub locations around the country, we can get closer to the cars we want to sell, and we can add more and more value to our clients, but also get more vehicles to come through our platform. So currently we've got a couple thousand vehicles on our platform to sell, and that's because we have a couple thousand parking spaces at our hubs around the country. Through this transaction, we'll be able to open hubs around the country, add to the amount of inventory that we have the room to process. And by doing that, we'll have more inventory for the consumers to shop through, and we'll be able to sell a lot more cars. And that's really at the core of our growth plan, opening more hubs and selling more inventory through our hubs.
I'm curious how the pandemic has impacted your business. I know just anecdotally, a lot of my friends who never had a car all of a sudden said, you know what, I kind of need a car. Just feeling nervous about public transportation or for whatever reason. What have you seen? How has your business been impacted?
Yeah, it's obviously been a really interesting year. We started this year, beginning of the year, we were growing gangbusters over last year. We're prepping for the greatest quarter in our company history. And then COVID really hit in March. And for us, COVID was two stories. It was a sales story and a sourcing story. The sales story was really like a pretty acute drop in sales for March, April, and May, but that kind of reversed by June, and we've had a phenomenal year ever since. On the sourcing side, because OEM plants were shut down and there were moratoriums on repossessions, the whole supply chain of used vehicles was disrupted. And so inventories all around the country for us and all of our peers came way down. But what was happening during that time is there was a backlog of inventory forming, and we're seeing that come through the channel right now. So our inventory has never been higher. In terms of what it's done to consumer behavior, I think you're right. People are less willing to take public transportation. They are going out and buying cars. And what's interesting about the way we've created this e-commerce platform is that people are now more comfortable buying a vehicle online. And through our omni-channel platform, we can sell vehicles however the buyer wants to buy them. If they want to shop online, get their financing online, figure out a warranty, manage their trade-in, and take delivery to their driveway, we can do that. If they want to start online and eventually come into a hub or chat with one of our people or have one of our people FaceTime video the vehicle so they get more comfortable with it, we can do that. If they want to just come into the hub and do the whole process face-to-face, we can handle that as well. So it's a true omni-channel platform where our guest, our buyer, can shop however they want to shop. But what we have seen through COVID is that people are more willing to shop in a touchless, paperless transaction because they're still a little scared to come into a dealership, and their mind goes to the last time they bought a vehicle and it took several hours sitting in a dark room. That's just not how it works today with us. And so people can shop either in our safe environment or at home or anywhere in between.
All right. Well, Michael Bor, CEO of CarLotz, so great to have you on, and congratulations.